Welcome again to PRAVA. And gosh, isn't the world just changing day by day? And what I want to talk about today is facing these challenges that we're all going to face with a sense of strength and power and courage and resilience. How do we make it through these times of challenge and stress in a way that actually makes us stronger as we come out the other side? And it is really interesting. I mean, obviously, it's quite clear now that most humans are going to experience some level of stress or challenge over these coming weeks, months, and years. Now, the level of that may vary for different people. It may be health challenges or stresses, it may be financial challenges or stresses, or it may be the stresses of the people around you. And you may already be feeling the response, your body's response to some of that stress. Perhaps you're finding it hard to sleep, or getting tension, or maybe feeling really tired, really stressed, maybe a bit unfocused and unsure of what to do, or completely overwhelmed. There's a lot of different responses that happen when your body starts to go into this stress response. And the thing is, I mean, we almost can't help it because we are tribal animals. We look to the people around us, we look to the world around us to get the cues about what's happening and are we safe or are we not safe. And if you watch any news at the moment, then you're going to be getting the message that the world is not a safe place and we're all not safe. So we do need to be careful of watching the messaging that is coming out and the way that it is delivered. A lot of it is delivered, and pay attention to this, it's delivered with dramatic music, with shocking images, with things that are designed to heighten your stress response. So it is really important the first thing that you need to do is actually understand what's going on in your body. When these things are happening, it is very useful to understand what's happening in your body so you can actually have some control over it. Because like I said at the beginning, it's really interesting. Every human on the planet experiences some level of stress in their lifetime. Now, some of us experience more stress than others, and all our responses are different too, depending on what else has happened in our lives. But the recovery from those events or stressful situations, it lays out on a bell curve. So I'm going to go a bit scientific here, but basically if you take every human on the planet and map out their response to a stressful event, there's a bell curve of their responses. So a bell curve is actually, you know, the line that goes up and down like this. So there's a graph of most people. You might have seen it with something like intelligence tests and things. You've got a whole range of people. The majority of people in that middle normal, they call it normal section of the curve. There's your outliers at the top and the bottom. And the same happens with the stress response. So we've got people the vast majority of people will experience a stressful event, and then within a few months they recover. And it is amazing. I remember when I first heard this, within a year or two, even of the most traumatic and stressful events, the vast majority of people have come back down to a baseline and have recovered from that event. Now, there could still be, though, there is still patterning going on in your brain, so that's what we're going to talk about. But the vast majority of people will respond and recover from that stressful event reasonably well. There is a smaller proportion of people at one end of the bell curve who find it very difficult to recover. And they might be the people who are prone to things like PTSD. And really, it is more difficult for them to recover. They might get much more anxious or depressed or have more ongoing stresses because of that particular event. Now, everyone's heard of that part of the curve, people who really struggle to recover from a particular stressful event. But had you ever thought that actually that curve has a top end as well? It's got that part of the curve where there's these people who don't just recover from a stressful event, they actually they get more powerful, they get stronger, they get more resilient after that stressful event. And I remember at the height of my breakdown, where I was actually having all-night panic attacks, I was incredibly anxious, my physical body was falling apart basically, I could barely walk. I remember reading that when I was in that state and thinking, I am going to be in that top part of the bell curve. When I recover from this, I'm going to get stronger. And my wish for you is that same thing, to set that intention, to say, as I move through these very challenging times in the world, I'm going to get stronger. Not only for yourself, and I thought this, not just for me, I want to be a stronger person for the people around me so that I can support them in these situations as well. I can understand and I can be helpful for these people. And that's one of the reasons I'm here with you now, is because I believe so strongly that the experiences that I had can be helpful and effective for other people to get in that top part of the bell curve, because I feel that's where I am. I'm a much stronger, more resilient person now who is able to actually turn off my stress response easier than I was before. So this is my wish for you. And going through this series, what we're going to do, I'm going to live stream and share with you the strategy that I use to get through that, and the techniques and most importantly, the thought processes to get through that and become more resilient in the face of challenge. And one of the things that we do, and the first thing that I'm going to address, is that feelings of power. Having a sense that no matter what happens, you're able to get back up again. You have power over the way you feel about these events, and you have power to respond in a certain way. And so to start that feeling of power, before we do our live stream, which we're going to do on Thursday at 10 a.m., before we do that, I want you to understand how your brain is working, so you get an idea, get a sense of how this all comes together in a neurological sense and a chemical sense within your body. So we're going to go back through that stress response. So when you think about it, when you have a stress response, when something happens, what's happening is all those signals are going into your brain, and the first thing they hit is that little organ, the amygdala. And the amygdala is that initial processing kind of window that says, okay, this input that's coming in, should I be worried about this, or do I let it slide? Is it all okay? And when we're surrounded by this negative messaging and we can see the fear on other people's faces, in other people's words, and in that awful music that they play, it starts to put your amygdala a little bit higher on alert. So messages that might have gone through and been fine before might now start actually triggering a bit of a response. And what happens is that means that messages are coming through to your amygdala, and your amygdala is actually having a response and passing it on to what's called your hypothalamus. And that's the next center of your brain, where this is these deep centers of your brain where it's processing and going, oh, okay, righto, amygdala thinks this is important. I'm going to check my memory banks to see, yes, is this important based on what other things that I've been seeing and hearing and experiences that I've had? Is this important? And if it is, I'm going to respond. I need to just prepare the body. Okay, so it might start sending out signals. It might start sending out hormones to release cortisol, to release, if it's really panicking, it'll release adrenaline and actually get your heart rate up and start you on that real fight or flight. But if it's just if it's just concerned, it's thinking, okay, things might be unsafe, it's going to start that chronic stress response, that just consistent nervous system's a little bit high. It's triggering off that cortisol. It's triggering off those stress hormones. It's maybe constricting your blood vessels. It's maybe elevating heart rate or elevating breathing rate. And that can go on for a consistent basis. So you might feel that now. You might feel that just slight sense of higher alert. You might find at the end of the day, you feel like you need a drink of alcohol to wind down, or whatever it is you choose to use to wind down. And you might feel that more. You might actually be really drawn to food right now. And again, that is a response to say, okay, there's something wrong. We need to prepare ourselves, feed up now, because there might be something bad coming. So this is the first step, to understand what's happening in your brain about why all this, no matter how chill you are, you can actually start having this ongoing chronic stress response. And the problem with that too is that once you're in that state, the way you start processing these memories and these experiences is slightly different. Your brain gives slightly more weight to these experiences now. It gives a little bit more emotional weight to them. and you can feel more frightened of something. And this is why I'm really passionate about helping people understand their brains and figure out, okay, how do I make this so that instead of getting down now over these coming months and maybe even years, instead of reprogramming my brain to a negative sense, to be fearful or to be worried about all these things that I was never worried about before, I don't want to lay down those programming. I don't want to lay down those connections. So what I want to do in these coming live streams and going forward in PRAVA is help you understand how that's all process is working and the things that you can do throughout this experience to make sure that it's locked in as something really quite strengthening and building and increases your resilience. So I'm really looking forward to that. The next one is, so we're going to do power to start with. I think that's really, really important. We're going to look at how your brain is analyzing the information. We're going to look at how we can change that and how we can reprogram how things are being interpreted in your brain from a powerful point of view. And so if you've got any questions or any comments about that, make sure you let me know below or in the comments section. And the other thing too, really important, if you know someone who you believe this will help, if there's other people in your world who you think that may really benefit from understanding how this is working, from being able to take a step back and keep this in perspective and move through this challenge in a calm and productive way, then just tag them or message them or share this with them, because the more the merrier. The more people we can have understanding this and not responding in panic. You know, we've all seen the panic in the marketplace right now. There's people fighting over toilet paper. So that is just going straight to subconscious panic right there. So if we can avoid, the more we can avoid that, the better it is for all of us, and we can move through this with more ease and grace. So I'm really looking forward to having you on this journey with me. The other thing too is, of course, a massive part of being able to go through this feeling supported and comfortable is having other humans around us. We are so tribal. We've evolved to be tribal. We love having people around us. And the more you can surround yourself with positive messages, constructive messages, and people around you understanding that as well, the more positive this experience and growing this experience will be for you. So make sure you share that around and bring on board the people around you as well, so we can all move through this together. So really looking forward to seeing you on Thursday, and we're going to go live and start forming our amazing PRAVA community, because we're all going to support each other through this whole time. So lovely, looking forward to seeing you there. Make sure you share. Any comments and questions, just let me know. Okay, see you soon.